You're listening to the Create What You Speak podcast, where I invite you to come along with me as we shape our own reality together. My intention is to bring out the magic in you. Now let's get started.
Run away from the humdrum. We'll go to a place that is safe from greed, anger, and boredom. We'll dance and sing till sundown and feast with abandon. We'll sleep when the morning comes and we'll rise by the sound of the bird song.
My name is Sloan Fremont, and today I'm going to talk to you about closing out old chapters.
Step down and you caught your soul, yeah. Take that one to number one, yeah. I get the whole world singing along, man. Step down and you caught your soul, yeah. Step down and you caught your soul.
Welcome back to the Create What You Speak podcast. This week I want to talk to you about closing out old chapters. I don't know about you, but I have been struggling pretty heavily again over the past week. And I got myself just going back to these shitty thoughts again, which I am so fucking tired of doing. And I had this epiphany about closing out old chapters that really helped me. And it was almost like, I don't know about an instant shift, but it definitely brought relief for me. And I started, really thinking about things that way, like closing out old chapters. So I wanted to share that with you this weekend and talk through what helped me in the hopes that it will help you too. Before I do that, though, I want to tell you about something that was actually kind of exciting for me. And to be excited and look forward to something is something I've missed. I've missed feeling like that. I don't feel like lately that there is much to look forward to. I don't even like saying that, but that's honestly how I feel. And so I've been trying to get myself out of that. And so I want to tell you about something that came about for me, and maybe you'll feel good about this too. So, okay, I've been on this email list for this group called Remote Year, and they do these trips. Well, they used to do all over the world, right? Where you can go stay in these certain cities all over the world for, it's usually anywhere like 2 weeks up to a month. And maybe I may have talked about this on the show here before because it was something I really, really wanted to do. And they had one in Medellin, Colombia, and I wanted to go there so badly. I wanted to experience that. I wanted to live, do the whole month thing there, really experience it. And they have it set up for you. So they arrange your living, the activities that you do. And really it's other people who live remote lifestyles. So people who work remote, people who maybe are in between jobs, not sure where they want to go next, whatever it is. It's pretty much independent people in that way. And so they put these activities together for you based on wherever you are, and they have co-working space available for you if you need to work from wherever you are. I'd actually kind of forgot about it, obviously, with everything going on. And so I got an email this week that they're starting these up all over the U.S. And they're starting with 2 cities in Greenville, South Carolina, and New Orleans, Louisiana. And it's the same concept. They arrange the living for you. And this one, you can actually even bring your pets, or they at least are working towards being able to do that. And they arrange the living for you, the activities, the co-working space. And it's the same thing where you're with the same, people who have a remote lifestyle in some way or want one or working towards that. And, they pair you up together and they do events and they do, activities and all this kind of stuff. And so I've really been thinking about that. I'm 70-30, I'm going to do that. And it's a month, and the one I would do is in New Orleans, and it's a month. And I just felt like it would be a good break from this year. I mean, I really want to travel again. My only concern with traveling is trying to get back in the U.S. For me personally, it's just a little too unnerving to think that I might get stuck somewhere or not be allowed back in or, whatever. And so I don't know. I was thinking about that. It was actually gave me something to look forward to. I think it sounds fun. And I wanted to share that with you. And also if anybody wants to come along, I don't have any affiliation with this group. I've never been on a trip with them. I've only read the reviews and just, I've interacted with the owner. I had some questions about the New Orleans trip and he got back to me pretty quickly. But I just found it interesting and I wanted to share. So it's called Remote Year. If you're interested, check it out. Again, I have no affiliation. It was just something I thought was cool and I wanted to pass it along. All right. So one other reminder for you is my course, 33 Days of Magic, is available at 33daysofmagic.com. And I've developed this course so you can take what we talk about on this podcast one step further and apply it in your own life. So I created this course in a day. It was something I was thinking about and it just came out so quickly, and it was so fun to do. But really what it is a template for you that walks you through how to change your life and go after whatever it is that you want. And so I give you it's a 46-page workbook that contains the template. We create your magical vision. I teach you the magic method. There's some magical reflection. And then I've also included some in case of emergency affirmations for times when you're just really overwhelmed and you need some instant relief. So it was fun to create. I'm really excited to bring that to you. 33daysofmagic.com if you're interested. All right, so let's get into this week's show. I was reading something this week. So we're talking about closing out old chapters. And I was reading something this week on Instagram that I kept going back to this because I was like, there's something here for me that I need to address or learn or talk about or whatever. And it was some Instagram page I follow called Soul Guidance. And they posted this story, this statement, whatever you want to call it. Old stories linger in your energetic field. You're able to see what lies beneath the surface and understand the whys to many things, providing you with insight and oversight, enabling you to be more empathetic towards certain situations and people. This awareness may have misguided you into believing that you should entertain certain stories long after that chapter has finished. Your deep compassion, empathy, overstanding, and loyalty to others continuously validating many never-ending stories. There are new books that need to be written, and you're rereading random chapters from old books. These old books are being removed naturally and unexpectedly. Stay in your truth as your library of safety is rearranged. In those lines, believing you should entertain certain stories long after the chapter has finished, and there are new books that need to be written, and you're rereading random chapters, those really stuck with me. And I kept going back to those throughout the day. And I think it was because that's what I felt like I've been doing. Like when I said at the beginning of the show, like, still entertaining these fucking shitty thoughts. Like we go through these, each week I tell you these things from the truth. I mean, these are things I struggle with. This is real life. This is the shit I go through. And, some weeks on this show, I feel like I'm on top of the world. Like I conquered it. Like I've got it. I did it. Right. And then other weeks I'm at the fucking bottom of the hill and I'm like, fuck, man, I thought I had this shit. Like I thought I fucking figured this out. Right. And then here we are back again with these same fucking stories. And I don't know, maybe you feel the same. Maybe you go through this kind of stuff too in your own life, and where you think you got it, and then the next day it's like, fuck, did I ever have it, right? And I guess the only thing I can say is what I've realized or I've seen in my own life is it seems to be part of the process, right? It's not like we get it, whatever it is in our life, and then we move on. It's not like we obtain it like a degree or something, right? It's an everyday practice. It's a constant, we're always changing. Things are always different, but sometimes the things, whatever the thing is for us or things, they're 20, 30, 40 years of beliefs that we, just for whatever reason require more attention. And so I guess that's what I would say about this for me is I feel like some of these things are they just require ongoing attention. And sometimes the attention is less and sometimes the attention is more. And right now I'm at a place where I feel like the shitty thoughts are, wanting to rage again. And so I'm making a conscious decision to apply more attention to make sure that they don't run wild. And so I feel like I've been stuck in these old stories again where they want to come back. And, I'm sick of it. And a lot of it has to do, I think, with just the nature of things right now, being isolated. And even though there's things to go out and do, it's just not the same, as I'm sure you know, or maybe have experienced. And, it's just unnerving in a lot of ways. So a couple of weeks ago, you might remember I did a show called, But Are You Still Getting What You Want? Where I talked about how even though this year is massively fucking insane, that I still feel like I was getting what I wanted. I still felt like the things that I wanted were coming to me. I just had to kind of clear through the shit to find them, right? I had to look at it a little bit differently. I had to choose a different perspective. I had to, it didn't come in any possible way that I felt was how it was going to come. But if I cleared if I dusted it all away, actually things were I was getting what I wanted. I could honestly say that. And now here we are a couple weeks, and like I said, I feel like I'm taking a couple steps back. Like just when I thought I was getting ahead, then something happens and I feel like I go backwards. And I guess I would say that's part of this process too, I think. At least, I mean, and I don't want you I'm not going to feel bad about this, so I don't want you to feel bad about it either, that sometimes that just happens and we didn't do anything wrong. There wasn't anything bad, right? We're not at fault. Sometimes it's just, it's just our path. It's just where we're at, and that's totally okay. And I think sometimes also things come to us in pieces, right? Like we want it to be this easy path of like the next, and like a domino effect, right? The next. And sometimes what I've noticed, and at least right now for me, things aren't coming in that perfect path, right? There's like a zigzag to this side and a zigzag to that side. And then, then when I come back together, now I'm on the path for right now. And then, oh shit, now the path is going this way, right? So that's what I'm finding, at least in my own life. And I feel like that's where those old stories are coming in, right? Like where I'm believing I should entertain certain stories long after the chapter is finished, or I'm rereading these old random chapters because when I'm zigzagging or I'm going to the side, that's when the old stories want to come up, right? Like when things aren't falling perfectly in that domino effect like I want them to, that's when the old stories are coming up, and I can feel myself starting to buy into them. And sometimes I'm really good with this, right? But right now I don't feel that I'm mentally as strong as I normally am. I feel mentally weak, I guess would be maybe a good way to put it. And so as I thought about this more, I think this even touches on what we talked about last week with getting to choose what we believe, right? We do have that option to choose what we believe. And I decided after that, reading that, and just because I'm not going to just quit today and be like, well, I feel like shit today, so I guess I'll just give up and feel like shit the rest of my life, right? Like, no, that's not going to happen for me. I know better days are coming. I know it's going to get better. And I guess reading those quotes, it helped me to decide that I'm ready to close out those old chapters. Like, it's like I'm ready to close out another layer, even though layers I thought that I had moved past or healed or diminished in some way are back for whatever reason. And I'm ready to stop. I'm ready to stop entertaining and rereading these chapters and just making myself feel like shit. And what I'm really ready to do is to stop assuming that the future is going to be like the past, right? Like I'm really ready for that. Like I'm really ready to stop thinking that my future is going to be filled with heartache, heartache and disappointment in relationships like it has in the past. I'm tired of that, and I'm ready to close those chapters, and I'm ready to step into something new. So maybe you have something like this too. Maybe you have this thing where you feel like, fuck, I can't talk to another fucking person about this because I'm sick of the topic myself, right? Like I'm sick to death of it myself. And I think, at least for me, thinking about it as closing that chapter, and I don't mean necessarily you're closing a chapter with a person. I feel like it's like we're closing a chapter with ourselves. Like we're closing a piece of an old part of ourselves that we no longer need. It's like we're trying to bring this old version of ourselves into the new when it doesn't fit. The old doesn't fit. The old needs to stay, right? We can close that door on that old part of us, and we don't have to bring that old part of us that believed those things into the future. And it's not like a bashing our old self, right? Our old self did the best we could with what we had, but we can thank that part of ourselves and yeah, you kept me safe and thank you for that, but it's time to move on to something new. I'm ready, right? I'm ready for that. And so, I'll admit for me, this week has not been easy. It's been another week for me, and it's part of why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I think when things aren't easy like this, and when we just keep having to revisit these things that we don't want to fucking revisit again, it feels like it should be done, right? It feels like it should be done, and I want to quit. I want to give up. I feel like I've failed, or I've done something wrong, or like, why am I fucking going through this again? Like, why this again? And what I have to keep reminding myself, and what I wanted to remind you, was that while it feels that way, right, when we're in it, when we're so fucking deep in it, and we're so far into it, and while it may feel like there's no other option, even in our lowest of lows, right, like I've been feeling, like we have to be willing to allow ourselves to believe that there's another way. We just have to. We have to give ourselves that option. We have to we talked about on another show. It was the one I did, The Universe Fucking Loves Me with Sarah Array. We talked about this, about like if you told the same story to someone else, would they only believe the options that you believe, or would they see other pieces of that maybe you can't see because you're in it so deep, right? And I think that's what it is, like when like for me right now, right? I can only see these options because I feel like I'm so far down in this hole with this. But there's other ways. There's other ways to look at things, and things won't always play out like they did in the past. And I think just committing to ourselves that we're going to do whatever we can to feel good, I think that's like kind of, I don't want to say the work, but that's like the thing. That's like the practice. That's how we move this along, right? That's how we get further on the path, or however it is that you want to describe it. So I want to share a couple things that helped me this week to start to turn this ship around in a new direction. And the ship feels like, this week, it feels like I'm trying to turn the fucking Titanic, where 2 weeks ago, I would have told you I was in a fucking life raft and it was 5 seconds to turn it, right? That's just the nature of me. And maybe you can relate. But I think that's part of being human too, right? Being able to go with that flow wherever you are, like, and not beating yourself up for not being in the same flow that you were 2 weeks ago, right? Like, I could do that, but it doesn't feel good. And honestly, I don't have the energy to even try to do that to myself. Like, my energy right now has to be spent on helping myself feel better. So I want to talk to you about a couple things that I did. That helped me. And again, my intent is that these things will help you. They'll spark an idea for you. They will give you a new thought, a new direction, a new something that will help you too. So the first thing that I did was I played this game with myself where I allowed myself to win. So whatever that was, like for the day, I generally was doing this for the day, sometimes just for the hour. It depends. Again, I've talked about this before, how sometimes that's the best I can do, is just because my mind is going so fucking crazy. But I allowed myself to win. So I got to win at whatever I wanted. So I got to envision myself as already having the thing that I wanted, and not letting those doubts like try to, run the show. Like, I let myself win, and I got to think the thoughts that were positive and feel good around winning, and not assuming the worst, right? So for the day, I chose to believe that everything was working out for me, that what was coming, like, I had what I wanted. Like, it's here, it's good. Like, I'm all right. Like, I'm on track. And today I get to win. So when those shitty thoughts came up, I'd be like, no, actually today I get to win. That's not true. I get to have the relationship like I want it to be. I get to have the, whatever, the health, the body, the money, the job, whatever it is. Like, I get to have that. Like, I get to win. And that, I can tell you, that helped me, surprisingly. Like, it may sound cheesy or whatever, but allowing myself to win, it gave me that glimpse of hope that I desperately needed this week. Like, I desperately needed that. And it helped me shift. And I think setting that time limit, like saying only for the hour or for the day, it helped me to, my mind was going crazy, like wanting to not believe. And I would tell myself, okay, at the end of the day, you can start believing the old thoughts again. But just for today, let's believe we're going to win. And once I showed myself I could do that, because that's part of this too, like showing yourself that you can do this, because then you get reminded of it, and you get that becomes familiar for you, and not the shitty thoughts. And so that, letting myself win, it helped me surrender and like release a little bit into, like I said, that glimmer of hope that I so desperately needed. So that was one thing I did. I played the game of letting myself win. And the second thing I did was, this is one of the practices recommended by Abraham Hicks, and it's called the focus wheel. And you may be familiar with this. You may have heard of it, and you may have even done it. But if you haven't, here's what it is. It's where you take a piece of paper, and I generally do this when I'm not feeling the best, right? Or when I want to feel better. So maybe I want to feel a different way. And so what you do is you take a piece of paper and you write a circle in the middle, and you write what it is that you want to feel, whatever that is. And then around that circle, you start to write things that you already believe in that match that desire that you have in the circle. So the thought is kind of like a merry-go-round, like, with kids, like the way Abraham Hicks describes it, is like, if you try to get on the merry-go-round when it's going really fast, you're just going to get bounced off. And that's the same way with your feelings or your thoughts. Like if you try to go from, if you're feeling terrible and then you try, you're feeling terrible about money, let's say, and trying to use the affirmation, I'm a millionaire, that's not going to work, right? Because it's too far of a stretch. You're not going to believe that. You instantly don't believe that, right? So what the point of this is it slowly introduces that momentum that gets you going towards that circle of whatever it is that you want. So let me give you an example. So let's say like that let's use the money example, like where you're struggling with money or something and you want to start feeling better about it. So in the center circle, you could write something like money flows easily to me, or, I'm open to, abundance, or abundance is all around me, or, something money related that you want to work towards. Like that's how you want to feel. And so then what you would start to do is start writing around that, in a circle. You could draw circles around it or however you want to do it. You could start writing things that you already believe that line up with that. So maybe you could write things like I have money, right? I know what to do to get money. Like I've had money before. I like the feeling of money. I like the options and freedom money gives me. Like I can let money in. I'm already abundant right now. I can see abundance around me. And I can see clues that the universe is giving me by, finding money, in my day-to-day life, like, whatever it is. And so as you write these things, again, the key is that you believe them. But what they do is they start to help you build momentum towards what it is that you're going for in that center circle. And which in this example was like money flows easy to me, or, something money related like that. And so this is a fun process. I find it fun. I have found it helpful. You can search online for Abraham Hicks Focus Wheel to see many more examples, but give it a try. You might have fun with it. It might be something that helps you start to shift into, again, better feeling, like feeling better, right? Giving that glimmer of hope like that. And that's really, for me at least, that's what I was going for this week. And so after doing both of those things, I wanted to share again a couple of things that I learned, like that I proved to myself, which is part of all of this that we talk about on the show. What I'm doing when I'm talking to you about these things and suggesting things for you is, I can talk to you about this stuff all day long, but if you don't do this stuff for yourself, if you don't try some of these things, you're never going to probably believe that it works, or you're never going to really be able to experience it for yourself. So you're not going to know what it really means to do those things. So actually practicing these kinds of things helps you prove to yourself that you can do these things, right? Like you can bring yourself into a better feeling place. Like you can pull yourself up from feeling like shit, right? That's what doing these things will do for you. It helps you, it gives you the proof to keep doing it. And then once you keep doing it, it keeps getting better for you, right? Because you keep getting more examples. So 2 things that I learned from this. One, when I was doing the focus wheel, there was a statement that really stood out for me. And these were just in my own thoughts that I was writing. But it was, I'm not the same person as I was before, so the past won't be repeated. And I really liked that statement because I was thinking about, again, about closing out old chapters. And that reminded me that that I could picture the future as something different, that I didn't have to keep going back to old memories to try to think about how my future might be. And it's like, my future isn't going to be defeated repeats of the past, right? But I have this blank canvas with infinite possibilities that are available to me. So that was one thing I got out of it. And then the second thing was that the focus wheel really helped me have positive thoughts readily available when I started to feel like shit again, right? Because I was doing this pretty regularly, every day, not like all day, obviously, but like, whenever I felt like it, really. I mean, that's when I would do it. And when I would start to feel like shit, I already had those new thoughts ready that I had written in the focus wheel that felt better to me, that I knew they did. So it was like I was having these new thoughts ready, like I could pivot to them quickly when, when shitty thoughts started to come up, so that those thoughts just didn't perform on autopilot anymore, right? Like I had other options. Like I had shown myself there were other options and there were other ways to feel that felt better. So I liked that. Like those two things were really helpful for me. So that's why I suggest you doing these things for yourself, because there's gonna be something that comes up for you. Probably, you may not even know where it comes from. Like this, I'm not the same person as I was before, so the past won't be repeated. That just came up, I don't know, as I was writing. And there's gonna be things like that for you. And those things are gonna be what, like your soul or your, that inner part of you is guiding you towards, to pull you up to help you feel better. Right? That's what you're going to be able to experience from this on your own. So I highly encourage trying both of these things. The game of you get to win and trying the focus wheel. And again, you can search Abraham Hicks focus wheel to see more examples, to see more descriptions. There's tons of stuff out there about that. But both of those were very helpful, and I would say in surprising ways for me. And that's why I wanted to talk about these things, because as you look at your own life, are there old chapters that you can close out? And it doesn't necessarily have to be chapters with other people. It could be chapters, like I said, with yourself. Are there chapters that are just, you're done, that are trying to come forward, that are just not either where you want to go or who you want to be anymore, right? Because we can change whenever we want. We can change as often and whenever we want. But in order to do that, we have to let go of some of these old shitty things that don't match the new version of ourselves. So this week, maybe take some time to think about what that looks like for you to close out those chapters. And try some of the games that I played, right? Try the focus wheel, or try the I get to win, and see how that feels. Like, try letting yourself win for a day and see how that feels. I mean, I can tell you, like, it made a huge difference for me, right? Or even trying the focus wheel. Like, it was a quick way for me to move into something different, right? And if you're in a place where you maybe can't write it down, like maybe you can just think through it all, right? Like you can do that when you're around other people, right? If you're in a situation where you can't write it. But every time when I tried both of those, even when I thought I felt good, like I could do it again and find myself feeling even better. So even if you're not feeling bad, I would encourage you to try it and see if there's new levels of feeling better that you might be able to experience. You might be surprised at what you find. All right, so that was a big one this week, this closing out old chapters, and that's really all I wanted to talk about this week. I'm going to share the magical intention, and then I'll talk about the songs I picked, and then I will close us out. I would like to have any feedback or any thoughts that you guys have about this, so I would love to hear from you. If you want to come on the show and talk about it, I would love to have you as a guest. I always say this at the end of the show, but I'm going to say it now. My email is sloanfremont@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, sloanfremont.com, and you can reach out to me there, and just let me know what you think. Like, I would love to know your thoughts on this topic. All right, so closing us out for this week's show, as I was looking at the dates, I was like, damn, we're at the end of another month here. How did that happen, right? And our topic for the month of June was your focus is your superpower. And we covered a lot this month. And we're talking about, things like still being able to get what you want, even when things are crazy in the world right now, right? Or deciding what you want to believe, right? And then this week, talking about closing out old chapters. And the main thing I wanted you to remember this month is you really do get to choose what you believe about anything in your life. And your focus is what's going to get you there, right? So focus on something bad, you're going to feel bad. Focus on something good, you're going to feel good. It's really that simple. And I shared a lot of examples this month of how you can do that. And so if you missed any of the episodes, I would encourage you to go back and listen, because we did cover quite a bit. But really, to close out this topic of your focus is your superpower, I think this week we're closing out those old chapters. And it's really about paying attention to what you can close out in your own life that's no longer serving you. And we're moving into the second half of 2020 already, right? Like, this has to be better than the first half, right? So what can we leave behind for the rest of the year? Like, what isn't serving us? Like, I'm sure we've all spent a lot of time alone, or even if you've been with other people, like we're not in a normal state, most of us. And so what do we want for the rest of the year, right? What do we want? The choice is ours. We can believe whatever we want. And I shared some ideas this week to help you with that, with, letting yourself win and in the focus wheel. But I think this really is worth thinking about going forward, because ultimately our focus is our superpower. So how are we going to use it, right? How are we going to use it today, tomorrow, the rest of the year, and the rest of our life? All right, so let's talk about songs for this week. So, all right, so the intro song, this is Eric Church's brand new one. You guys know how much I love Eric Church. I've talked about it on the show. So many shows I've been to of his, and thinking back on those and like missing concerts, like so fun, like just, oh my God, so much fun. Like so many friends I met over the years, like so much craziness, getting to experience. And now all that kind of feels like a dream because concerts are like nowhere right now. But his new song is called Stick That in Your Country Song. And he talks about, take me up to Detroit City, jails are full, the factories are empty, mama's crying, young boys dying. And he talks about drop me off in Baltimore where every other window got a plywood board, where dreams become drugs and guns. The only way out is to shoot or run. And then talking about the man coming back from war, 23 going on 54. And the chorus of the song is stick that in your country song. And so he talks about like the teacher who's trying to change a life or two. She'll be rocking out all night with you, and tomorrow she'll be back in a red brick school where the kids are climbing off the walls and it's scary walking down the halls. She's underpaid, she's overworked. Come on, man, shout one out to her. Like, I can feel his rage in this song. There's a part of the chorus where he talks about light the arrow, pull the bow, shoot that fire right through my soul, hit my pride, fist up high. I want to feel a rush. I want to feel alive. I want to pound the dash, stomp the gas, drive too fast, rock me hard, stop my heart, and blow the speakers right out of this car. Like I just have seen and been around so many shows. Like I can feel the anger in this song, like that he had, like the energy coming out of this song. And I love this song. What this song is saying to me is like, talk about real life in your country song, right? Like talk about what's really happening to people, not this shit of sitting on a tailgate, which is fine, right? Because that's real life too. But I don't know. I think this song is more about getting real with what's real right now. And I like it. It's very catchy to me. It's been stuck in my head all day. So Stick That in Your Country Song by Eric Church. The outro song is called Fire and Bone by The Killers. And I don't really know what this song means. I really like the tune. I think it's catchy. He talks about, I felt cast out. I felt 86. I felt darkness, but I felt fire and bone. I felt no good, low down, left alone. I felt unknown, wrongly accused and disowned. I felt fire and bone. So I don't know. I don't know if this song is about, like, even when you feel down, like, feeling like, kind of like on the Eric Church song, like, feeling that energy, feeling alive again, like being able to pull yourself up out of something when you feel bad. Like I talked about on the show this week about closing out old chapters. I don't really know. I don't know. Give it a listen and see what you think. All right, so that's it for this week on our topic of closing out old chapters. I would, again, love to know what you think. You can email me, sloanfremont@gmail.com. My website is sloanfremont.com. Social media @sloanfremont. If you like the show, please remember, subscribe, rate, review, tell your friends so more people can find me. All right, and thank you for listening this week. And again, we're closing out this month of June. We talked about closing out old chapters, and we all have a choice, and our focus is our superpower.
I felt fire and bone.